Eric Jarvis is a 40-something neurobiologist who was raised in New York City, attended the School for the Performing Arts, where he was an accomplished dancer. He went on to become impassioned about bird brains as a student at Hunter College and Rockefeller University. Now a professor at Duke, his research on bird behavior has suggested that birds are much more intelligent than we had previously thought. For example, hummingbirds, it turns out, can teach other hummingbirds to sing, and crows are able to fashion tools with their beaks to obtain hard-to-reach food. Jarvis has been studying the complexity and intelligence behind bird songs and calls, with the hope that his work will lead to therapies for human beings with speech problems. Many scientists have objected to the very notion that birds are more intelligent, in part because the terminology used to describe a bird's brain has long emphasized its primitiveness. Jarvis set out to change this, and he did it in a very uncharacteristic manner for most research scientists. He pulled together colleagues from around the country and across disciplines to undertake the daunting task of collaboratively renaming the component parts of the avian brain. No small project, the process involved considerable bumps along the way with clashing egos and worldviews. But ever the artful choreographer, Jarvis stepped back, listened, gave input at strategic moments, and masterfully facilitated a complex process that yielded shared agreement and a jointly published paper on new names for the avian brain. This work not only contributed to the emerging understanding of bird intelligence, it has paved the way for more serious research that may help us better understand ourselves. Jarvis goes on to say, "My career has been based on a collaborative way in doing things because it comes naturally for me. This goes back to my upbringing, but it doesn't mean that it's natural in the field of science. That being said, in science, breakthroughs often happen when different fields are combined. The discovery of DNA happened because physicists brought their technology and their ideas to biology. They brought an old question to a new field. I think the same thing happens culturally. You have people from different cultural backgrounds coming together, and they bring their cultural thinking in new ways that haven't been combined before." Eric Jarvis is the perfect example of what we at the Interaction Institute refer to as a facilitative leader, and what we believe is the face of leadership in our sector going forward. Facilitative leadership starts, ironically, with the notion that we must radically change our perception and thinking about leaders and leadership itself. Originally based in a Newtonian, mechanistic understanding of how the world works, our ideas about leadership have evolved over the last 50 years, from a heroic command and control approach through a more participative, collaborative approach that involved teams and less hierarchy, to now, a time when our understanding of the world is informed by quantum physics and complexity theory, a world described by Tom Friedman as flat, where all of knowledge, not to mention finances, has been connected and democratized. We are defining and understanding leadership at a time when our systems breakdowns and global crises demands that we create a future that is so radically different from the past. Several thought leaders with whom we are familiar have themselves been struggling with this concept. Peter Senge, in his new book, The Necessary Revolution, introduces us to the idea of the animateur, the French word for people who seek to create systemic change. He says that an animateur is someone who brings to life a new way of thinking, seeing, or acting that creates focus and energy. And in Peter Block's new book, Community, the Structure of Belonging, he renames leaders as social architects, defined by their ability to set intention, convene, value relatedness, and present choices. The animateur and the social architect seem to be getting us closer to the kinds of leaderships that we need in these times. Last month, an article appeared in the New York Times analyzing the first presidential debate, where the writer is quoted as saying, "Mr. McCain, who came of age in a chain of command culture, showed once again that he believes that individual leaders can play a catalytic role and should use the bully pulpit to push politicians. Mr. Obama, who came of age as a community organizer, showed once again that he believes several minds are better than one, and that for all of his oratorical skill, he is wary of too much showmanship. As we embrace leadership as being first and foremost about shared responsibility, as a leveraging and unleashing of much needed collective intelligence and commitment, we see in fact that the central task of leadership today is to create the conditions for others to flourish and to thrive, to step into their own power. We see that the roles that these leaders play in these times are more aptly described as catalysts, champions, and connectors. We see that these leaders are strategic, collaborative, flexible, and they are most often rooted in real authenticity, service, and love. We are daunted in our sector by the demographic reality of baby boomer leaders exiting in the next 5 to 10 years, leaving a massive leadership gap. I am wondering if this conversation, while important and real, may also be taking us off course, or at least may be taking up too much of our time. I believe, particularly in these most troubled times, that we are being called to boldly invest in networked, boundary-crossing social architects, multicultural, multi-generational social architects. We need to build their capacity in collaboration, design, facilitation, network building, and the new uses of the new social media in service of real change. It is our collective capacity that will lead us into a future that is so very different from the past.